Been bright and breezy, hasn't it? This innings from New Zealand, 443. Mac and Rig joining us. We're going to talk about the importance of centuries here. Centuries, how to go about getting them, how not to get them, in my case, play. But we do have some tweets coming through as well. I think we've got that, actually, the tweet. Mark from Kaikoura. Nichols was nearly out in the 90s. What's it like as you get close to a century? Why is getting a ton so special?
Such a good question. Why is there so much significance placed on a three-figure score of 100 when 98, 99 is just as significant?
Yeah.
Because cricket is so judgmental. It is stats-driven. And quite often a 75 or an 80 hard-earned can be more important than an easy 100 scored somewhere else in the match. It's one of those things, and Rig, you didn't score that many. You only had 4. You're on that list with Flem, weren't you, where conversion rates weren't great.
Lots of 90s.
Yeah.
Did you?
And there's two ways you go about the 90s. You either breeze through them like you don't care, and Kane Williamson was pretty good at that. He just went ding, 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 100. Or you're so wound up that you know you have to get to 100. You know the significance, and then you make a mistake, and you get out for 98, 99, and you're so angry.
Yours would have been nerves, wouldn't it? Your head would have started playing tricks.
Oh, and exhaustion. It took so long to get anywhere near 100. That, I always talked about it, just batted for too long. So you always give them too many deliveries a chance to get you out. Yeah, you know it's there. You're in the 90s. You can see 100. And you're always told you've got to stay in the now, ball after ball. It's harder to stay in the now when you're within touching distance of a milestone. The significance of 100, I think, is the fact that, one, it's 3 figures, so that's quite cool. But there's a column for it. There's a statistical column for it, and I'm with Mac. What's the difference in the context of the game between 99 and 100?
Nothing.
Well, it's a winning and the drawing of the game in the last one, and isn't it? That one, but in the context of the game, what does it mean? What it is, it gives you a tick in the column.
It's a milestone, right? It says that you are better than average. You are a good batter if you can stay out there in the middle in the contest and bring up those 3 figures. When team totals are 3 figures, so for an individual to bring up 3 figures in an innings is something truly special.
But you should be judged on the amount of runs you've scored and perhaps the average amount of runs you get per innings.
Well, if you in a self-serving world.
Yeah.
But if you looked at Sachin Tendulkar and you looked at his run output, for instance, and we're taking the most runs in history here.
Yeah.
What's more impressive for you? Is it Tendulkar's total runs in Test match cricket, or is it the number of times he's passed 100?
Well, his longevity in the game and his consistency over such a long period of time. I mean, his numbers are phenomenal, but that's where we've talked about Kane Williamson today, where you mentioned, Rigger, you'd basically double everything that Kane's done because New Zealand don't play enough Test cricket or as much Test cricket as the likes of India and England. And if you do that, his numbers supersede the likes of Tendulkar and Kohli, which is phenomenal to think of that. But because New Zealand don't play as many Test series, they don't play the big 5-match series, the Ashes, those sorts of series that are so spotlighted, he just sort of goes under the radar a little bit. But I think you look back over someone's career, you look at their runs, you look at the value of them to the side in terms of when they've scored those runs, when they've helped their team win matches. To me, that's the most important thing. And whether someone's got 110 or 65, if the 65 has won you the game on the last day in the 4th innings of a match, that's
a contribution.
Supersedes.
Well, we only have to look back a few days, and I thought that Daryl Mitchell,
his
81, was equally as crucial to the chase as Kane Williamson's 1-2-1 not out.
Well, New Zealand don't win without Daryl Mitchell's 81, and the way he went about it made it easier for Kane at the other end, but there's no significance. He gets a tick in the 50s, in the 50 column.
Yeah.
Well, he's probably a reason why Kane was able to put a tick in the 100 column, because he allowed Kane just to play the way Kane wanted to.
Absolutely.
And just be that rock at the other end. Maybe one day, because I just think when the hundreds and milestones for Kane Williamson, they're just things that happen in his journey in cricket. And he's just about actually, how do I need to bat for this ball, and then the next ball, and then for the next half hour. And then he leaves the game and it's, cool, I got another 100. I think it won't be until maybe after he's retired that he'll sit back and he'll go, well, I got 35 hundreds, the most that no New Zealander's got. And maybe when he's sat with us trying to win an argument, he might go, well, I got 35 Test hundreds. How many did you get, pal?
He would never say that.
No.
For starters.
No.
He wouldn't have to.
He
win
won't
an
be
argument.
with us either. You can definitely say that, Rick. He's not going to be up here.
I look at him today, though, and Mac, you spend a lot of time around Kane, both as a mentor, as a lover of the game, as a coach with the Black Caps. Today's felt special to me. Today has felt like he's operating on a different level to most. And 3 tests straight, 3 centuries in those tests, but this one in particular, where it has felt everything has just come out the middle of the bat. Everything. And he's been able to dictate to the bowlers. I'm really interested in the methodology that he brings to it, the way he has gone about it today. And you don't see it very often, out-and-out aggression, which Marston and Kane Williamson's visage doesn't seem aggressive, but those 2 sixes, that put Sri Lanka on the back foot, and it's so out of character for Kane to do that, but so crucial at the time.
Yeah.
Took a plan out of the book for them.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, his strike rate yesterday was 37 against the Seamers. Today it was up above 80.
Yeah.
He had to fight hard for his runs yesterday. There was enough on the surface that made batting difficult yesterday. Sri Lanka didn't bowl well enough for an extended period of time, but it was still difficult getting yourself in. Today was a new day where, you're right, everything's hit the middle of the bat. He just looked in that zone, in that bubble that once he gets in, and sometimes I've seen it at training, throwing balls to him, you sort of talk to him, and he's talking a different language at times that it's hard to understand.
Speaking in tongues.
Yeah, but you can see that steeliness, that determination in the eyes, that once he's on like that, doesn't matter where you bowl, he is going to hurt you, and he has the ability to go through the gears. Today he's gone through the gears, Scotty. Quite often you don't see that. He'll go at one pace and do it comfortably, but he's just gone through the gears, changed levers at different times.
And I think they have that ability to plan out what needs to happen. So clearly with those 6s, he's thinking, well, you guys want to get through some cheap overs, or you're going to use the short pitch delivery here to contain us. In the situation of the game, I'm not going to let you do that. So I'm going to hit up and I'm going to clear your fielders because I'm hitting with a win.
Absolutely.
And he does it. And I think the great players, they have this ability while they stay in the now for each delivery. They've got this master plan of what needs to happen. Jimmy Anderson, the West Indian, often talks about batting with Brian Lara and coming out to bat. Jimmy Adams, sorry, not Jimmy Anderson.
So Jimmy didn't bat so well out here.
Not the Burnley Lara.
Jimmy Adams. And he said he'd come out and Lara would go, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that, and then on the 35th over I'll be here, and on the 40th, and then so if you could just be on this score by the 40th, then we should be able to win this with about 2.5 overs to spare.
Crazy.
And Jimmy would go, mate, I can't do that. Yeah.
But they're ahead of the game, Scotty. That's the thing.
They
are ahead of the game in terms of their thinking, in terms of their play, in terms of how they... And that shouldn't be underestimated for the guy at the other end. And Henry Nicholls has played an important role in this partnership.
He has,
but he's been helped so much by Kane.
And what about the way that he went after a set of Fernando? It was a mirror image of what Kane Williamson did when Laharu was coming in to bowl to him. You don't often see that from Henry Nicholls either, but that is the benefit of having someone like Williamson at the other end. These two love batting together. The confidence that gives Nicholls to say, well, that plan worked once, no reason I can't do that too. Sri Lanka must be heading into the sheds right now thinking, what have we got left?
Well, their backs are against the wall. New Zealand are dictating how today works, and they'll have a game plan. Sri Lanka, what can they do? They can't hold anything. They've gone at over 5 and over. They've conceded 288 runs in 2 sessions of cricket. They've selected the wrong side for a start, and that hasn't helped them. The bowlers haven't backed up from Christchurch, where there was an emotional toll. That first test took a lot of emotion. It was so close. It ebbed and flowed on that final day, pushing for a final in the World Test Championship. I just think they're flat. I think they've been flat from day one. Tough conditions yesterday, and they haven't been able to bounce back.
They did one thing right. They won the toss.
Did they?
Yeah, I think they did make the right decision. New Zealand would have bowled first as well. It was the right decision, and then from that point on, it's just gone south for them.
You get rewarded for bravery sometimes playing in New Zealand. Ask Dean Elgar about that at Hagley.
Yeah.
But here's the one question I want to ask you, Mac. Going back to that time you spent with Williamson, how long, once he's in from batting, does it take for him to sort of come back down to everyone else's level? How long does he stay inside that Williamson bubble? Or is it pretty quick transformation, pads off, helmet off, take a little minute or two and then straight back into it?
It can vary. It can vary depending on the innings and how long the innings was and what happened, but he can be reflective quite quickly after an innings, and he's normally always right on the spot. You might just walk into the changing room, sit down, and he'll tell you exactly what's happened, why it happened, what was good, what was bad, what needs to improve, and you just nod your head and say, bang on, mate. Bang on.
Makes the coaching job pretty easy.
Yeah, it does.
I like it. I like what we've seen today, and a chance for Williamson to bring up yet another milestone, another double 100 here at the Basin. I guess
that's the stat I like.
You like the double
greats,
hundies?
The double hundies.
Yeah.
Because I think if you want, many batters get hundreds, but the greats, they get big hundreds, and they get more than one big 100. When they have their day, the mere mortal might have their day where they apply themselves and it's fantastic, and they go on and get a double 100. They do it once.
Yeah.
The true greats do it multi times.
What's the difference between 199 and 200 though, Rig?
Well, nothing actually, because it's only ever 100. You could get 450. It's
only
100.
There should be other columns, isn't there? 200 and 300 column. Where are those?
Well, I could tell you this. The late Mountain Crow would know the difference between 299 and 300 at this very ground. That's for sure. It's going to be an intriguing